Καλησπέρα. Καλώς
Good
ήρθατε.
afternoon. Welcome to the 8th episode of the series Reality in Our Country. So from now on, we will meet once a month within the framework of this program. Our guest for this episode is the politician Pavlos Voskopoulos Philippov, who is a member of the European Alliance Rainbow and represents the Slavic Macedonian minority in Greece. Welcome and thank you for your participation in our program, Mr. Philippov. Thank you for the invitation. Good afternoon. Very spontaneously, I feel like calling you Kardashian brothers. So let's begin with the first question. We know that you were born in a Macedonian family in 1964 in Florina. So based on this, where do Macedonians live here in Greece, and what is the population of the Macedonians? Indeed, my parents come from Macedonian villages, and we are the generation. For example, my grandmother didn't know a single word in Greek. My mother and father were part of the generation that were taught Greek at school. So in northern Greece, there are 500 villages. More than half of them have 50% of the population who are Macedonians. You know, after the exchange of populations, apart from the population that lived together with their Turkish families, they had to leave to Turkey. And the same, of course, was for Christian families that came to Greece. And there was 20% speaking Macedonian language who were also forced in 1923 to leave their motherland. And there are even events and dances in Izmir that have their origin from these villages. The Macedonians that live today in Greece wish to be recognized as an ethnic minority in Greece. Yes, this is a very good question. If we had a religion, Muslim or something else, it would be very difficult for a minority to be assimilated. The largest majority are Christian Orthodox. And the policy, and in Greece, of course, applied respective policy based on this. Of course, religious and political measures were taken in order to assimilate. Of course, there are some other parts of the population that are not assimilated. Yes, at this point, I wish to ask why, according to you, the Macedonians are not recognized as ethnic minority. Well, for modern Greece, the minorities are a very hot issue because if ethnic minorities are recognized, it is like destructuring indirectly the modern Greek myth. The legend that we all learn at school, according to which modern Greeks are descendants of ancient Greece. This legend was broadened after 1912 and 1913. And of course, Macedonia must always speak Greek. Therefore, part of this is something that we've always learned ever since we were at school. And also, according to the Greek myth, Macedonia has always been Greek, and the same thing applies today. So only Greeks can live in this part of Greece. This is the main reason, the main issue. If an ideological reform is initiated, the average Greek persons must start questioning about the past, the cultural elements of previous decades. So they will find out that there is a very slight relation with ancient Greece. So, okay, let's move on to the present. What are the main problems and what are the main claims of the Macedonian minority in Greece? Listen, it's not easy. The Greek national myth is really powerful, and the politics also when it comes to minority and recognition of minorities also, it's very, very strong. So it's particularly difficult for part of the Macedonians that wish to have a diversity to do that in public. So if someone says in public that it's part of this minority and that you wish to, for example, be recognized in order for the Macedonian language to be taught at school officially. It's very difficult to do that in public today in Greece, as being member of this minority is really not easy at all. Of course, it hasn't been very easy at all to establish this political party of the minority, the Rainbow Party. It's good that you mentioned it. You were pioneer at the establishment of the political party the Rainbow in 1994. However, in 1995, you and your friends were referred to the court of Florin for causing hatred among the people in Florina. Yes, that was a couple of decades ago. And the Macedonian issue back then was really, really at its peak. We had the dissolution of Yugoslavia. We had different events that took place. And when we started institutionally to claim rights and to found this political party, and we managed to do that thanks to our European friends. Greece was a member. I traveled back then, and there was a Macedonian movement for prosperity. So we had an invitation from a Corsican Eurodeputee to go to the European Parliament. This was a very positive shock for me when I saw that they were organized in parties, national teams and minorities. For example, the Catalans in Spain, the Corsican in France, the Scottish in Great Britain, and so on. So they were organized in political parties in order to enlarge their claims, their rights, because they were already recognized, and they had a political fight in the countries they lived in. So we also addressed to the respective competent authorities before the European elections in 1994. Our claim was dismissed, but our European friends had to intervene in order for us to manage to found this political party that is the Rainbow Party. Of course, the reaction on behalf of the state and the deep agencies of the state was very corresponding to the average education that all citizens have here in Greece. So, okay, we're citizens of Greece, so the state didn't wish at all to allow the development of this political party that we founded back then, thanks to the intervention of our European friends. So imagine that the sign was posted back then in 3 languages, Greek, Macedonian, and English. A protest took place in the city. The Greek church reacted, the political authorities also reacted. So anything that you can imagine of was organized against the founding of this political party and against this sign, which for the first time was posted in public in a language that was inexistent according to the Greek myth. And according to this myth, no language, Macedonian language existed. We were accused back then as members of the Rainbow because we dared to post the sign and to found the political party a few months earlier, just like participate in the European elections. Even there, many things took place. So, because our members, for example, members of the party could not find the bulletin, voting bulletin in the election centers. So, after the establishment, the foundation of the political party and the posting of the sign and the fight for these minority rights had 2 parameters. On the one hand, that the Greek state prosecuted us through by means of the Greek justice and accused us of the fact that this sign in an inexisting language caused a turmoil to the citizens that were forced to react. But there was also reaction on behalf of our friends at an international level. Even international Amnesty took a position saying that if the members were accused, Amnesty International would adopt us. So in this prosecution of the Greek state against the Rainbow, we were finally acquitted. There was acquittal. There were people from both abroad and the country that came to support us, and there were a few Greek Democrats that came to support the establishment of the foundation of the country, of the party. So let me briefly tell you that even though we were acquitted by the court proceedings, one of those was also me, because, okay, even though the language is inexisting, and even though the sign caused turmoil among the citizens, however, the accused people were not educated, and that is why the court decided to liberate them and to acquit them. So despite their mistakes, the errors that these people made, we will acquit them. So that was the reasoning behind the acquittal. But on the other hand, we tried through our friends and allies in Europe to bring proceedings against those who came to our offices and caused damages, and we were even forced to leave our offices for a few hours. So we brought a lawsuit, an action, and we tried through the Greek justice to to have a decision, a ruling of the court in favor of us. So finally, we had to have recourse to the European Court of Human Rights because the Greek judicial authorities, when we filed a lawsuit, the lawsuit was also always dismissed. And even though we believe that the Greek justice must always be objective and independent, when it comes to minority issues, the Greek justice is not objective, it's not independent. And you know what has happened in the past when the word Turkish minority, Turkish, that the adjective Turkish has been used on different occasions. So, with our friends from Western Thrace, we had to present the discriminations against minorities, both Macedonian and the Turkish minority in Greece. And of course, the fact that the Greek justice was not independent as it should, as all democratic states in Europe. Okay, as far as the ideology based on which the political party was founded, what is the manifest and the current actions of the Rainbow Political Party? The main claims in the political manifest that we've had since 1994, 1995. Of course, we've adopted many elements in a supplementary manifest of the parliamentary group at the European Parliament. There was a European Free Alliance, and the name of this political unity of the people in Europe. So within this framework, within this context, we consider that we as a political party, one of our main political claims is respect and recognition of Macedonian language, teaching in the Macedonian villages, because today the language remains alive. Of course, the recognition of the ethnic Macedonian minority and all the measures that apply in the democratic countries. For example, there is a Finnish minority in Sweden, about 300,000 people. In order for a Swedish person to be appointed in the area where a Finnish minority lives, he has to learn the language of the Finnish minority. For example, it would be great for a doctor in Xanthi or in Komotini to learn Turkish in order to be able to be very effective at working at the hospital. So the grandfathers, grandparents will not have to go to the hospital together with the grandson in order to explain to the doctor what they feel, what their problem is through their grandsons. That's what happens here in Florina. If you go to the hospital in Florina, you will see the grandparents together with their grandchildren who translate to the doctors what their grandparents suffer from. And of course, it has to do with health, imagine. So if I see things like that happening, and as a member of the political party of the European Party, I used to go once a month to many people where minorities lived. So I saw what the situation was, and I compared with what the situation is in Greece. So what we should do what is best for the society, and in order to broaden our democracy, that is what progressive states do. Just like the Finnish minority living in Sweden that I just mentioned. Our country has a strong relationship with the Albanian country, and also this topic is always on top of the agenda when it comes to Albania's relation with the European Union. So even though Greece has been in the European Union since a long time, it only recognizes the Muslim minority in Thrace. And how do you interpret the situation? Well, it is a lack of political situation and also hypocrisy. Because I'm certain that if Greece was a candidate and a member to join the European Union today, it wouldn't be as easy as back in the 1980s and after this. Back then, the European Union was a European economic and social union. It's not a union adapted to the minority issues. There is a European Union, there is a Council of Europe, there is a OCDE, and of course, the United Nations. The European Union is the the organization that is more sensitive than the others that I mentioned towards the minority issues. After 1990 and the collapse of the Soviet bloc, some steps and some progress has been made. A typical example is that there are some Macedonian minority in Bulgaria. So after the dissolution of the Eastern Bloc, and when Bulgaria was a candidate member to join the European Union, so there was a party airing of Macedonian minority in Western Bulgaria that was recognized by the Bulgarian courts. And that happened a few months before the European Union would have to decide whether Bulgaria would join the European Union. So Bulgaria did join the European Union. A few months later, the prosecutor and the competent authorities cancelled the decision and declared the political party illegal. A similar situation in the European Union, consisting of threatening a country, stating that the country, this thing does not exist in the European Union. Those who are part of a minority, us and your brothers in Thrace, we know exactly how the organs, how the different bodies of the Council of Europe, the OCDE work. We know the decisions, we know the rulings that are issued. We've had visits from the United Nations, and I'm sure there have been visits in Xanthi and Komotini. So the European Union, well, this is what we experience right now. There is a hypocrite policy from our country because I'm a citizen in Greece and I'm part of this minority. And of course, what is happening with the Albanian minority is at least hypocrite. Also, what I wish to say, because of course the details also hide some major issues. I keep on saying that the Greek minority in northern Epirus is actually a Greek minority in southern Albania. In the Greek myth, in the Greek modern myth, it is known that the Greek army went to northern Epirus because we have our Epirus and we also have the northern Epirus that was not liberated. So we integrate northern Epirus in our country. And for example, we don't say in southern Macedonia, the minority, the Macedonian minority, etc., etc. We avoid to say that. We say that the ethnic Macedonian minority in northern Greece. So we're trying to be perfect when it comes to the terms that we use. And something else, which is really incredible for Greek politics, when 1,500 Greek Orthodox people in a Turkey of 80 million people can be an ethnic minority, can be considered an ethnic minority. What is the number required for a minority to be recognized? When, for example, we in the Rainbow, we are many more claiming for minority rights. So it's a hypocrisy in practice, not in theory. So we're reaching the end. Thank you very much, Mr. Pavlos Voskopoulos Filippov, for being with us and for answering honestly and sincerely all the questions and giving us very valuable information about the Macedonians. So I'd like to thank the technical assistants and all those who have attended this episode. We'll be back in the next episode that will be broadcasted in 1 month. Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to greet our friends in Xanthi and Kamontini, our brothers there, because we also join our forces for our future democracy. Thank you very much.